Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
I was going to say hello. I nearly choked. Hello. Hello. Good day.
Good morning.
Goodness. See, just cheated.
You just cheated. Well, I can say it then, can't I? Loch Ness.
Roast bananas.
Sheerness. Roast bananas.
Yes, so welcome to the Benji and Nick Show. As you may have gathered from last week, there's a change of format. This week, we're not talking about something from cult television that we've randomly, spontaneously selected to watch and talk about. This week, we'll be talking about what we've watched this week on television, or what we've been watching recently, and we'll be reading out your emails as well. And then at the end, we'll spontaneously be deciding next week's program to watch. Well, at the end of this podcast. Yeah. What have you been watching this week, Benji?
Oh, do you know what? To be honest, I've not actually watched an awful lot of television.
Oh, well, this is going to be a short bloody podcast,
well, it is.
Isn't it?
Just saying. I watched half of a challenge.
That would be like that. Actually, that would be like. Sorry to interrupt you, but that would be like when we do the one where we're supposed to watch something. We go, so what do you think of it? You go, well, I didn't actually get round to it. I mean, I bought the DVD, but then I thought, nah, just go down the pub.
No, so
just be me berating you for going down the pub for an hour.
That's precisely what I have been doing.
Anyway, sorry, back to you watched half of something?
Half of a challenge for Robin Hood. An old Hammer film.
And
it's got... it has got, what's his name? Barry Ingram, Aladon.
Yeah.
Doctor Who and the Daleks.
Yes.
And James Hayter, who was in loads of films, who is my friend Robin's dad. And so
James Hayter, I want to look him up.
As soon as you see his face, you'll be like, yeah, I know that man. He's in everything. He's one of those.
How's he spelling Hayter?
Hayter. He's a good solid.
There we go. Let's have a look at
James Hayter. James Hayter actor.
That's Mr. Kipling.
Yes, it is. It's Mr. Kipling.
Makes
Pickwick's
exceedingly
Papers
good
and
capes. He works in a clothes shop. He makes exceedingly good capes. Brilliant.
But yeah, he's absolutely, he plays Friar Tuck in this one, and he's really good in it. Of course, he's made a good career at being a decent Friar Tuck. But it was a really fun little film, actually. It was on Talking Pictures TV, which seems to just be have you subscribed to the emails, Nick?
Yes.
Yep, I did that today.
They're not very good. They don't turn up very often.
Well, I think they want to change that. I think they put a big thing out today saying sign up, doobly-doo. But the majority of what I watch now comes from... I watched another thing, actually, I can tell you about. But yeah, this one was really good. It was on Talking Pictures. I liked it because it was filmed at Bodiam Castle, which is only down the road from me.
Yeah.
And it's a
great castle, that, isn't it?
It's a lovely castle. It's only technically a castle. It's actually not a castle, really, because it's actually more of a fortified house.
Yes.
It was a castle that was built by a chap who went off to France and fought there, got loads of money from pillaging and doing all sorts, then came back and decided to build this sort of really impressive castle-like house. But it wasn't actually, which is why it's so pristine, because it didn't really see an awful lot of action.
No. Didn't see any, did it?
I think there were a few little...
The Civil War?
There was a bit of like a Civil War or something went on. There was something that happened there, but I mean, there was nothing of any particular... it didn't really do anything to the structure. But it's a gorgeous castle. It's a beautiful, romantic-looking building.
Well, funnily enough, I visited it with Steph many years ago, back in the late 1990s, before we were a couple. We just went on a... Yeah. So to go out and do stuff together,
show her a folly. Nice, just take her to a nice Victorian folly. You don't have to sit in bed all day. You're wasting your life, Fernando. So that was Alan Partridge there. Do something nice.
Really?
Go for a walk, a hike. Take her to see a Victorian folly. But no, that was a cracking film. I love a good Robin Hood anyway. So it was.
But you only watched half of it.
Yeah, well, it was. I've not finised it yet.
I see. I thought you were going to say, yeah, but it was actually quite boring.
No. I just haven't finished it. I just got to a point and thought I can't. I've got to go and do stuff. So
I'm slightly traumatised because I missed the repeat showing of that thriller you talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Good. Yeah.
What was it called?
It is called and So the Darkness or something. And Comes the Dark. I can never remember the title, but
it's really annoying. I missed it. I missed it
Still
by
the
about
Darkness?
an hour.
Oh, it's really good. I expect it would be on again, but
That's my son playing his blooming Xbox or Nintendo Switch on the television.
you mug yourself off there. You missed a cracker. You missed a
I
good
know.
bit of.
They've
good
got to get it. Why don't Talking Pictures TV have a player?
because
like an iPlayer.
rights, I expect.
Yeah, of course. I knew that was the reason, but I'm just
I'd love
asking.
them. Nothing. It's like network TV and things like that. If they had, basically, let's put it this way: if network had an on-demand service, I would happily sacrifice all the other on-demand that I'm a part of to have that on demand instead.
Yeah, just imagine.
Because
that back catalogue, you could just watch that all day.
I'd probably I'd probably lose my job. I'd just be there
yeah, I probably would. Yeah, I would too.
That's 900 hours of Gilligan's Island or something. But the other one that I watched a bit of was the Devil and Daniel something or another, which was on, which just got boring. And I gave up in the end. Like great, the start of that's great when he's a guy who's really struggling.
I don't know it. What is it?
This old 1940s film about this guy he's struggling to make ends meet, owns a farm, nothing's going well, and he's in a barn, and he says, I would make a deal with the devil if it meant that I could get out of this one, And then this bloke appears and smoking a fag, of course. And he says, oh, yes. He says, I will give you the opportunity. You will be richer than your wildest dreams for 7 years. After which, then, your soul belongs to me. But I'm sure that we can come to some arrangement to extend the offer somewhat after 7 years. But anyway, and then he immediately finds...
a bit like James Hayter.
Maybe, yes, Mr.
Would you like one of these exceedingly good cakes?
Would you like a cherry bakewell? But yes, so
and then what happens? Everything goes well.
Well, he suddenly looks down and he finds a stash of coins in the barn, and he's richer than his wildest dreams. And it's all about, the basic premise is that he becomes really pally with the mayor, and then when it comes to having to have his soul, he uses his power for good, and basically then the mayor who he becomes friends with has to vouch for him in a sort of court-like perspective that he's a good man. But I just lost interest. It got a bit boring after a while. I was just like, I've done this. I want
to know what happens after 7 years.
Well, your soul belongs to the devil and you're damned for eternity.
No, but how does that... I realise that's what he was saying, but is that how the story ends, do you think? I mean, that's a bit of a downer.
He'll get away with it, won't he? Because you can't let the devil win in a 40s film.
Is that a policy statement of yours?
Well, I imagine so. I mean,
get a T-shirt with that on. You can't let the devil win in a 40s film.
You can't. It's just not cricket, is it? But in the 50s, they were doing it all the time. He got away with murder, literally.
I think it's the 70s when the devil started winning, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Omen, yeah.
Yeah, Omen. Yeah, good shout. Apart from that, have I watched anything particularly exciting or interesting?
Have you?
No, not really, to be honest. New episode of The Good Place came out today.
Oh, right, okay.
Yesterday. I've not watched that yet. I was going to, but I haven't had time.
On your recommendation, I did. This is the Netflix series with Ted Danson and some other people, and it's to do with they've gone to the afterlife, and the good place is essentially heaven, and there's someone there who... There's been a mistake and she shouldn't be there, and she's actually horrible, and she's trying to be nice to stay there. Because you see the bad place, you hear that every now and again, don't you? And it's just people going, ah! Yeah. I watched a couple of episodes because I just find it too much. I can't. It's
intense. I have to admit, the comedy isn't actually particularly to my taste, for the most part. And I don't really know why I like it, but I think the philosophical aspects of it and the ethics bit of it make it really interesting for me. I like the slant and the way they do things like that, and because I would have loved to have gone into psychology. I love all that, what defines being good and bad. And
no, I think that is fascinating. I agree with you entirely. I just find here are the two things I think about it. I think it just continually cracks the same joke, but it's every time they crack it in a minutely different way. It is funny and effective, and I'm impressed by how cleverly done it is every time. But I find it's like being pressed in the same, like it doesn't hurt if you push my cheek like that, but if I did that for like 3 days in a row, I'd end up with like a hole in my face.
Yeah, no, it's true, it's true.
And it feels a bit like that. I feel like it's making a hole in my head, that it keeps burrowing into exactly the same spot. It doesn't give me any variety. It's too much one thing. Says the man who watches lots of Doctor Who.
Have you actually got to the big twist yet?
No, I haven't.
Because
now you've intrigued me, and I'm going to have to watch some more.
One could actually argue that feeds perfectly into the big twist and the narrative which goes on throughout.
Okay, mate. Oh, I'm quite.
It's I tell you one thing. It's a bloomin' good twist.
Oh. Okay. Have you got anything else you've been watching?
Paint dry. No. No. To be honest, I've been working, and I've been playing some video games. To be honest, I've been playing. I got a new one for Christmas called Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is but the thing that's good about that is they've built a huge virtual ancient Greece. And it's just amazing. You just spend hours just walking around looking at like history. It's just incredible. I love anything history related. I love, as listeners should know by now. So seeing like ancient Greece doing its thing is just it blew my mind. Absolutely brilliant. But yes, I think that's me. To be honest, that's me. That's me all checked in. What about yourself?
Well, I've been continuing with the Sandbaggers, which I mentioned in the last podcast briefly. And just absolutely loving it and really caring about the characters. And it even though I've seen it before, I saw a lot of it at the time, but I saw it, before, I don't know, I'm saying a year or 2 years ago, I'm not sure. It's just great. And there's some really sophisticated, interesting bits. And I was talking to Marcus Hearn, the editor of Doctor Who magazine, about it. And he's very droll. And he said, what was it? He said that it's the kind of television where they're sitting with great intensity or something, or sitting with, I don't know, it's something Stephen Moffat said about old multi-camera stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there was no action. There was a lot of sitting around, and and it is very restricted. But within that restriction, I think it's just great. I really, really recommend it. There's a quote on the DVD sleeve that says the best spy series ever, I think it said, but it's not attributed to anyone, and I just thought, well, that's what I think about it, so I'm going with that. It is amazing. And you sort of tempted to think, oh, you could remake it, but why remake it? It's just is what it is. It should be watched as it is. I'm sounding like a right period. So I'm loving that, and I'm really panicking that I know I've only got 3.5 episodes to go, and then it's finished, and it doesn't end satisfactorily because the writer died, perhaps in mysterious circumstances. People say that he might have been knocked off by the security services.
When you're coming towards the end of something like that, and you just feel it's had the same thing. Just going back,
it's like a good book, isn't it?
It's like my cowboy game. I'm up to 70% on it now. And it's just breaking my heart, I think, because the character's dying of tuberculosis in it. So it's really good because he's like.
What's the game called?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's right.
And he's a cowboy.
My son keeps talking about it. He'd really like to play it.
It's an amazing game, but he's a horrible bandit cowboy, but now he's got tuberculosis. He's trying to right his wrongs. And it's really pulled me in, but not to make it about that, but I can see, you can see how far in the story you are, and I'm about like 72%, and I'm having the same thing. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I feel too emotionally invested, as I'm sure you do with the Sandbaggers. Yeah.
It's like when you're reading a book and you're getting towards the last chapter and you suddenly think, oh, all these people who I'm loving are going to go away and will never come back, and of course they're not real. It's very disappointing.
Well,
you know,
it's like that.
It's when it ends that you suddenly come back out of it, don't you? I mean, obviously you don't believe it's real while you're reading it or watching it, because that would be psychosis. But
that would be psychosis. It's like I find it with like London's Burning. I just felt like I wanted to go for a beer with all of them. I felt like I knew them. I felt like they were my mates. And then slowly all the characters leave, and you're left with a sort of relatively lackluster bunch. You think, oh.
Did you stalk them?
I've been to the fire station.
I know that. Yes.
I've been to said pub where I would have said drink with them, but well, I can't say I've stalked them. Though I do know that.
Well, I'm very glad you didn't confess to anything bad like that. It was just meant as a joke.
No, I will say one thing though. As one of the actors,
I do have a nice shot through the net curtains. No, go on, Mark.
One of the actors, he lives locally because he did a film for, like, it was in the local paper. He did a film of it, and so I looked up to see what. It's just a small film. Find the name of it.
I thought you said a film of it. I thought of what?
Well, he did like a short film, you know, like for a film contest or whatever.
Gotcha.
And I realised that he lives locally, and that the company or whatever registered that made the film is registered across from where I used to work at a hospital. So I was just like, oh my god, that's like down the road, which I thought was relatively interesting. But
relatively,
yeah. Time is relative. But yeah, no, you made me all sad now thinking about all the characters I've left behind.
I can see you look a bit.
Just want to go for a beer with Bayleaf.
One thing you recommended to me was Hannah.
Yes, I've not got around to actually sitting down and check. I've got them all on record from Talking Pictures.
Yes, I'm a bit worried that is there more than one series of Hannah?
I don't know, actually.
Because there was a thing on saying a new series of Hannah, and I thought, but I've been recording it, because what kept happening with Public Eye with me, every time they flipped to the next series of Public Eye, my record stopped, because it only records a series. So anyway, I've got it recording, but I've watched a couple of episodes, and I didn't like it at the time, because I was very much, grown up and watching television at the time. I didn't like it because it was all on video and it didn't look quite... But, it's like Doctor Who without sci-fi, basically.
Right, okay.
It feels and looks like the talons of Weng Chiang the whole time. And that's a good thing. And thank you for that recommendation. I'm looking forward to when my son finally surrenders the television tonight and watching some more of it.
Watching some Hannah. What does Steph do? Does she watch all these old things with you?
No.
Or does she sit
She says, "Oh, what are you watching?" Well, she just leaves the room. She can't bear anything. Oh, she won't watch black and white at all.
My sister actually said the other day to me, she said I can't watch black and white because it makes me feel sick. And I said, what do you mean it makes you feel sick? And she said, well, it reminds me of being ill at school and having the day off school and watching the telly, and all that was on was old black and white films. She said, so I associate black and white television with feeling sick.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, it really is weird. I mean, Steph was a professional photographer and she took so many black and white photos and had such respect for the medium. You'd think that she would be quite interested in the stark reality of black and white.
I suppose
moving pictures,
maybe
but no,
it's because the black and white she took was like a artistic choice, whereas
yes, it was
just standard black and white is just like that's all it is in black and white.
Yeah, but I think you had to shooting things in black and white, I think, was far more difficult and challenging, I think. I don't know. There you go. But Hannah, yes, Hannah, and it's got music by Dennis King in it, who did the Black Beauty theme.
Can't knock a bit of Black Beauty, can you? That I tell you what, that reminds me of school. That does.
Does it?
Yeah.
You had a horse at school.
We had a horse called Black Beauty. No,
my teacher was a black horse.
We used to have like days where it was at the end of term, and people used to bring in like videos and stuff. And I remember one year or whatever, some kid brought in Black Beauty. So we all had to sit and watch Black Beauty, and I just remember thinking, why are we watching this? That was my memory of it, is just feeling mildly...
Was it the series?
It was I think it must have been, or it could have been the film, but but it was old, and I remember thinking, why am I being inconvenienced by this? Why can't we watch something fun and new?
We ought to do Black Beauty.
Yeah, we should do Black Beauty at some point.
An episode of that. But, Stacey Dawning was one of the Black Beauty girls, and the other one was, I can't remember, Judy Bowker. Stacey Dawning and Judy Bowker. And it was always, Stacey Dawning was sort of slightly more appealing, let's put it that way. Anyway, I think it's time that we went to the emails. Shall I read out the first email?
I'd be disappointed if you didn't. Go for it.
Dear Benji and Nick, this is from Rick Davey of the Unmutual.
Oh, hiya, Rick. How's it going? Well, he's not going to reply, is he?
It'd be really spooky if he did.
I'm
hope this
fine.
email finds you both well and fully over the Christmas excesses. Thanks again for coming to the ITC event at Elstree way back when. Yes, which was
had a
covered
great
in the
time.
Benji
Great
and Nick
fun that
podcast.
was.
You can go back and have a look at that one. It's called ITC Celebration. And asking me to be part of the ITC podcast. I hope you both and Jamie had a good time. So lovely to see you all. We did have a good time.
It was lovely. I had a fantastic time. Thank you so much for inviting us as well, and thanks for taking part, because that was good fun. I did like your. You dropped like a really great bit of information and trivia, and then say, "Oh, just got to pop off quickly," and then come back and just give us some more really great information. So it was good fun.
It's brilliant.
Good fun.
It's brilliant, and great beer.
Definitely.
Really enjoyed your thoughts about New Scotland Yard. The early 70s was awash with this sort of stuff, and I think it stands up reasonably well. Small point of order. In An American Werewolf in London, John Woodvine played a hospital doctor who goes off to the moors to investigate his patients' claims, not a policeman. Well, you have me there. Wow.
To be honest, anybody that goes off to the moors, no matter what film it is, they're going to have a hard time. Nobody goes off to the moors and comes back and says, "Oh, it's a lovely old walk that was." No.
Oh, gone to the moors. Fascinating discussion about people complaining on social media about actors' performances and so on. Did we?
Yeah, I think we did.
People complaining on social media about actors' performances.
Yeah, because we were talking about people messaging you saying stuff like, stuff to you and expecting you to reply, and you saying, "Well, I can't reply."
Oh, they didn't complain about my performance. They were complaining about the series. That was the trouble.
No, I think we were saying hypothetically though. It's like saying that about another actor, for example, and expecting you to agree or disagree.
This is the point in the podcast where we try to remember what we did in 2 podcasts ago.
My memory, the memory cheats. I have the bone ache.
Lovely to have him back. The person who said that a voice performance is somehow easier than any other type of acting performance is totally wrong. Oh, did I say that? Anyway, one only has to watch this Christmas's New Year version of Watership Down, in which an array of very famous star names who are excellent physical actors were pretty dreadful in trying to convey believable emotion in a voice-only performance. To realise it isn't easy. I haven't seen the latest Doctor Who episode yet, but I have no doubt that Nick was exceptional in it, as quite simply he's amongst the very best that there is. Well, thank you. It's like I hadn't read this previously. It's like I paid him to say this. I would never dream of posting directly to someone who wasn't very good in something. To tell them seems very harsh, but I wanted to throw a curveball to both of you to discuss. If we were in a restaurant and ordered a meal and it was cooked dreadfully, we would tell the waitress, who then tells the cook that it's not very good, and ask for them for something else. If our train is late or service has been shoddy, we complain directly to whoever is responsible and ask for recompense. At the end of a football match, when our lackluster team has lost 6-0, we boo as the final whistle sounds. Well, I don't, because I don't go to football. Yet if an entertainer delivers a performance which we have paid to see, which was not very good, why all of a sudden are we then not supposed to complain? Is it that actors are more important people than waiters, footballers, cleaners, rail staff, or anyone else we complain to directly, and should be above criticism? Is there a difference between sorry, but this food you cooked me really doesn't taste nice? Sorry, but this coffee you made me is not hot enough. Sorry, I paid £50 for this shirt and the sleeves are coming off after a week. It's shoddy. Sorry, I paid to watch you in this theatre show and you were really bad in it. Wow.
It's a matter, I suppose, of theatre and performance is art, and very much it is, in its essence,
it's personal interpretation, isn't it?
Precisely. It's what's the word I'm looking for? You know, it's everybody. It's subjective. It's a totally subjective form of art. Whereas I suppose I think if you say to a chef this food is bad, you would have to have a reason for it to be bad, rather than this is horrible. Although I'm sure some people just say this is bad.
Some people's tastes are different, and it's an interesting point. But there's a fundamental misunderstanding in the point that Rick is making here. He was saying that we shouldn't do this, that people shouldn't do that, and that's not what I was saying. I was saying when they do it, they must realise that they're just hurting someone. That's my point. I don't think that I don't like it if people contact me and say horrible things. But what does it achieve except to just hurt me? The different thing is with someone who's providing a direct paid for service, like a meal, and it is faulty in some way. I think if you don't like an actor's work, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, I saw Resolution on New Year's Day and your Dalek voice was no good, so I demand a proportion of my license fee back. I don't know. Not that anyone has said anything rotten to me about my performance in that. So please do write in with rotten criticism of me and say what a complete waste of time I am. So I'm not so much saying that we shouldn't say anything. Also, Rick, I think most British people don't actually complain about those things. Americans are much more forthright about it. For example, you know, if something's not cooked the way they like, they'd see it as completely normal to bring it to the attention of the staff. How many times have you been in a restaurant with someone and they've not liked something, and they say, "Well, you say something." "Oh, no, I don't want to. I don't want to say." No, you should say so. No, and then they come along and say, "Everything fine with it?" They go, "Lovely, thanks. Yeah, lovely."
I think my thoughts with that is that you would I would never say it's bad, because then you know that when it comes back it's probably got vomit in it or spits, or somebody's wiped a bogey under the burger bun or something. and
that statement has made me feel quite ill.
It's true though. That's what I think. Oh right, well he's obviously spat in whatever it is, you know, dropped it on the floor and just thought, who cares?
Oh, well, I always say that to people, you know, when I've I mean, for example, you know, as you know, I've got a heart condition. I can't have caffeine. And so I always ask for a decaffeinated coffee, and then they bring it, and then I just double check. And quite often they go, "Oh, I don't know." And I say, "Well, if you don't know, I'd rather you made sure and made me another one." And then I always say to people, "It'll be extra frothy when it comes back." Just referencing Baldrick in Blackadder in the trenches there, you know, cappuccino. Yeah. Anyway. But it is an interesting point you raise. I think you're alluding to, Rick, you know, poor sensitive souls can't take any criticism. Everyone else does in real life. But an artistic endeavour, and I was saying, you know, you put your head above the parapet and do performances for people, you have to expect to receive criticism. But I don't think there's any need for cruelty. I mean, you don't want to get a chef over and say, "This food, it's so terrible. You are a waste of space. I think you are a bad person." And I think that kind of personal nasty thing, I think if it's done in a civilized fashion. It's an interesting one. Anyway, he carries on. Benji is right when he says nobody forced you to watch that TV show. But by the same token, nobody forced you to go out for a meal and order the fish. So using that logic, we should never stand up and say, "Sorry, but I have paid for this and it's not been worth money." As consumers, it is not a fundamental right to complain directly about something which we have paid for, either through our license or an audio CD subscription or a purchase of a a meal or item through our taxis and train tickets, but which wasn't up to standard? Or are we okay to complain to anyone else, just not actors? That's right. No, I think it's I think when something's artistic, it's open to interpretation. I think it's more black and white if the train service hasn't worked, isn't it?
I think, as you know, it's like, I think the idea is a bit like paying to go and see a film at the cinema. You know, part of paying to go and see a film at the cinema is you come out and you say, oh, I like that, or I didn't like that, and you just accept that. You say, oh, I wasn't too keen on that one, but you kind of, that's the way it is. You know, nobody would, I suppose, come out and say that was utter dross. I want my money back. You know, I'm sure.
Mean, maybe if it was, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, I'm sure there have been people that maybe have walked out halfway through. I've walked out of films halfway through before.
Me too.
And
not often.
Not often. Pirates of the Caribbean, something or another. That was a dreadful film. I was not that keen on them anyway, but my ex-girlfriend and her friends wanted to go, like big double date thing going on. And I was just like, it was really bad. It was really immature of me, actually. I just said, this is just dreadful. Can we just go and do something else that's more fun? With better use of the time. Regret being that grumpy, but who cares? I was a lot younger. But, you know, I wouldn't go out and say I want my money back because I didn't enjoy that. But, you know, open to interpretation, isn't it?
I mean, if a film was so bad that... they said that you go to see a film and it's like they'd kept the lens cap on or something, so it wasn't really a film at all. Then I think, you know, that's
just wedding videos, isn't it? That's just people wedding guests from the 90s.
But I mean, I think that level of incompetence is the same as a meal not being cooked. I think that whether you like an actor's performance or not is the level of is this like the best fish you've ever had, or is it okay? I think it's more, or do you like the colour of the napkins? I think it's something like that. I don't think it's something that should be complained about as much. I think it's a question of degree. I think if you're going for a meal and the meal is essentially not a meal, or if you're on a train and the train does not fulfill the function of a train, then that is a black and white failure of service. Whereas if you don't quite like the way someone has interpreted something, I don't think that's quite a sort of binary thing. Unless the entire audience are so appalled by something that everyone bursts into tears or is physically sick, then I think, I think then there's a case to sort of ask for your money back, saying this was a work of obscenity, you shouldn't be charging money for it. I think there's a case there, but not. I think, it is after all just personal views on something that is not to do with sustenance or getting from A to B. So, yeah. Rick says, again, I want to make it clear that personally I'd never tell an actor, especially on their own Facebook page, that they were a bit rubbish in something, as it's rude. But if someone else does it, is it actually different to any other time we complain about something? Well, for the reasons I've just said, Rick, I think it is different. But not because actors are special. I think it's a different kind of judgment, really. Yeah.
Very wise. Very wise.
He said discuss and put a smiley
face
emoji. Yeah, likes to set the cat amongst the pigeons, does our Rick. Anyway, he says, on to lighter matters. It's competition time.
Hey.
He's setting a competition for us. A year ago, in January 2018, the Unmutual and Coit Media held 50 Years of The Prisoner, a celebration of The Prisoner TV series at Elstree Studios. Guests included film directors Alex Cox, John Huff, can't remember his name, and Chris Rodley, series crew members Ian Rakoff, John Smith and Tony Sloman, some chap called Nicholas Briggs, and many others. And a DVD of highlights of the event is now available from all good stockists. To win a copy of the DVD, email podcast@nicholasbriggs.com with the answer to the following question. who plays the part of Number 6 in Big Finish's audio reimagining of The Prisoner. Please note, anyone who enters the competition doesn't win can have a 50% discount when they buy the DVD from Coit Media Limited website. All entrants will be emailed an exclusive Benji and Nick show link to purchase. There you are.
Wow.
So, come on now.
Get
and
in
don't
there.
forget, folks, you can do it if you B and N it.
I like that. I like that.
So, answers in, please. And the closing date for that will be... just checking. It'll be the 3rd of February. So there you have it. I'll make a note of that.
Well, thanks for messaging in, Rick, on that one. Interesting debate you got us going there. Good food for thought, as they say. So I've got another email here. Subject to this one is Thank You and Alien England. And this one's from Benjamin Follis. Good morning, chaps. Good afternoon. Good evening. I would like to thank you for all the podcast fun last year. I giggled and I looked up old TV shows that I would otherwise not have. I'm currently hooked on Survivors and I'm ploughing my way through them on YouTube, although the box set is on order. I received the Prisoner DVD box sets for Christmas from a friend after thoroughly enjoying the Big Finish adaptation, and I cannot wait to get watching that. Thunderbirds, however, has been the big one. After hearing your podcast on Attack of the Alligators, the nostalgia kicked back in and I started watching short clips of the show on YouTube with my 3-year-old daughter. She loves it. So I put in a cheeky request for the DVD box set for Christmas also. My parents got me said box set when I flew back home to Dorset for New Year's, and I settled down with my daughter, Willow. And my daughter, Willow, sat on my lap to enjoy Trapped in the Sky. She was transfixed and I welled up with joy. I was 7 back in the early 90s when Thunderbirds made its comeback, so to see Willow enjoy it equally was a wonderful moment and the highlight of my Christmas break. Lady Penelope, as Willow calls her, is her favourite character and possibly mine. Also now, as I just assumed she is smashed off her face on Champers the whole time. Too right. So gents, many thanks for bringing that back for me. Also, I really enjoyed Alien England. I'm really keen to hear what happens next, though as I listened on my first day back at work in Northern Ireland, you have made me homesick once again, Mr. Briggs. Keep up the good work, fun gents. Would Hornblower be worth a watch and a podcast? Yes, I love Hornblower. I absolutely could do a Hornblower. And that's from Ben.
That sounds like a euphemism.
It certainly does. That's from Ben. Sent from my Teapot radio. Parker, the teapot is talking to me again. Doo, doo, doo. Now, I would happily do a Hornblower. I love it.
Now, have I printed that? That's really lovely. Thank you for that. I printed Rick's email twice, did I?
Yeah, if I just scroll down further, you see.
Well, what happened to the third email?
Well, it's in the ether somewhere,
mysterious
isn't it?
third. I've been just trying to, while you were reading that out, I was desperately trying to find it, because I definitely put 3 in here. Well, I'm really sorry about that. I've missed an email. Anyway, I think it's time to phone Jamie Anderson.
Yeah, phone old Jamie.
There weren't any questions from Ben, were there?
Only that would Hornblower be worth a watch on a podcast?
Oh yeah, well it would, wouldn't it? You love Hornblower, don't you?
I do love Hornblower. I very much do love Hornblower.
Paul McGann was in that for a while, wasn't he?
He was indeed in it. There's also a great 2-part episode with David Warner in it, and he's absolutely terrifying in it.
I just made a noise when you said David Warner. It sounded like I didn't like it. I went, it's just that I just nearly pulled the headphones off my ear again. I just went, and I kind of,
you did.
Sick and tired of causing myself pain. David Warner. He'd love that. Just heard my name mentioned on your podcast, Nicholas, and you went, Shall I phone Jamie?
Yeah. That's my latest sound effects tip. If you want to have somebody drink a drink, you have to tap the glass on your teeth like this.
Oh.
Hello,
Oh yeah, that's good.
You may not drink.
Why? We were just
Water
doing
is forbidden
drinking.
in the 9 systems.
We were just doing a drinking sound effect. So, Jamie, what we want to ask you is what have you been watching this week or recently?
I was going to say this week, I have a feeling I haven't actually turned on the TV once.
Wow. Watched a DVD?
Well, I'll tell you what I have been watching. It's called Hidden Whales with Will Millard.
So how can you hide a whale? It's so large.
Yeah.
Ah! Crack out the dad jokes while you still can.
Yes.
Before you're arrested, I meant, not before you die. Hidden Whales with Will Millard. It's absolutely amazing. It's incredible places around Wales, caves where the oldest specimen of a human of any sort was found. Wow. Mines, a lot of caving, and if you're claustrophobic, don't watch it. But just some incredible.
I don't mind watching it. I am claustrophobic, but I don't mind watching it.
You don't mind watching people stuck in tight spaces?
No.
To crawl half an hour through a cave system was about 30 centimetres deep and 45 centimetres wide.
That's horrible.
It was very painful, but also.
Well, he got out. That's the main thing, and it's not. It's not me either. So.
No, that's true. But some people are squeamish, aren't they, about things? So.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But also some old asylums around the place. Lots of abandoned old buildings, and just a really interesting thing to watch. I'm not selling it very well, and I wasn't convinced when I saw the advert, but it was great.
What was that on?
BBC 4.
All right, so I might try
Best TV channel, that one of the BBC range.
Several episodes of that.
Of the BBC range.
Yes. It is.
He's very pedantic about that. Of the BBC range.
Talking Pictures is the best.
Oh, of course. Yes. God, that's like your dream channel, isn't it, you two?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Very, definitely.
Yeah. Lovely.
Who was the person presenting it? Arthur Mullard, did you say?
Will Millard.
Gosh, my dear, it's Wales.
Millard.
Will he do what?
No, Will Millard.
And who is he then?
He explains who he is in the opening of the thing. Sort of, I'm an explorer, geographer, Englishman.
But I've run out of things to do, so I've decided to do this programme.
I've gone to Wales. Yeah.
I was feeling really bored this weekend, so
It's really worth a watch, whether you have any interest in Wales or the countryside or anything else. It's just amazing stuff.
What's it called again? Hidden
Wales with Will Millard.
I don't need the Will Millard bit. Hidden Wales.
That's the title of it.
I know, but as long as I type Hidden Wales into and spell Wales right.
Yeah, no H.
Hidden Wales. There probably is another programme that will be on Sky called Hidden Wales. Yeah, and they found them in a car park behind a lorry.
Yes.
Crouching
Tiger, Hidden Wales.
I'd like to introduce something. I'd like to play a quick round. 3 questions of Would You Rather with Jamie.
Oh, I love this game, and loads of people won't play it. And I'm assuming death is not an option.
No, it's not an option.
Of course.
So, the first one here is, would you rather be stuck on an island alone or stuck on an island with somebody who talks incessantly?
Alone. I'm a real loner for that sort of thing.
Oh, that's a tough one.
I don't know how you get on with me then. We're not stuck
on an island together, that's why.
Okay, this one's quite good. Would you rather have a 10-hour-long dinner with a headstrong politician from an opposing party, or would you rather attend a 10-hour concert for a music group you detest?
I think the politician, actually.
Really?
Because I don't know. I'd much prefer to discuss things by trying to see somebody else's point of view. I'm not, so I could actually talk to somebody like that and fully understand them better. But having my ears tortured for 10 hours with music where there's no interrogative aspect. No,
that's
thanks.
Good. What would that band be?
Probably Slipknot, I imagine, something like that. If Slipknot still exist.
I've never even heard of them.
I used to love them as a kid.
I bet he did. He's just that sort.
Right.
Okay, the final question here then is
Yes.
is an interesting one. Okay, would you rather live the rest of your life as a monk, or would you rather be followed around constantly and continuously by paparazzi until the day you died? No privacy.
Well, that's sort of like the island thing, isn't it? I could go a bit monkey, I think. Yeah, exactly.
I think I'd go with the paparazzi because I don't think I could live my life as a monk.
I don't know.
I mean, the thing about these...
to wear a good outfit,
The
though.
crux of these things, of course, and my son is always asking us terrible questions like this, none of which I can actually repeat because they're mostly revolting, is that both answers are really horrible, aren't they?
Part of the fun.
Of course, that's the whole point. That's why death is not an option. I thought Benji was going to go a bit more hardcore with this.
Well, I could go very hardcore. I mean, there was one I saw on there. What was it? Was not even. This is like hardcore as I can get for the podcast. Would you rather nobody showed up to your wedding or nobody showed up to your funeral? See?
Yeah, well, funeral because I wouldn't be there, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts, really.
That's. I think that's an easy one. I would absolutely say because what? Yeah, you're not around. You'll never know.
Yeah, I've got one for you, Nick Briggs, and they're both good things. Can I ask you it?
Okay.
Would you rather have unlimited first-class air travel for the rest of your life, or never have to pay for a meal at a restaurant ever again? You get it all for free.
That's easy. It's so easy.
Unlimited first-class air travel.
Easy, yeah. My
yes.
thoughts as well.
Paid for free.
Yes, or
Paid for free.
all your restaurant food paid for the rest of your life, as much as you wanted.
That's really difficult because I honestly can't. Because, you know, you just get really fat, wouldn't you?
For free?
For free? You say to people, I'm sorry I've become morbidly obese, but the food was free. And they go, oh, that's all right then. Your
That's
doctor would
fine.
let you off that, wouldn't
Of
they?
course he would. You get special dispensation.
Well, given that these are impossible choices, I think I'd probably do the first-class air travel.
Oh, would you?
Yeah, even though I don't fly that much, but I have flown first class, and it's very relaxing. Flying is generally not relaxing, is it? But yeah.
I mean, how any listener could not be utterly fascinated by this, I don't know.
I mean, the whole thing that the Ricky Gervais talked about it, didn't he? You know, when he got famous, not that I'm famous, but where, you know, and the little man from the first class thing came to escort him over and everything. And I mean, on one of the occasions, I had that treatment as well. Yeah, I felt like a complete fraud, but yeah, I could get used to that.
Of course you could. Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, I pay for food anyway. It's not, yeah.
That's interesting.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Jamie.
There's a whole new podcast in this.
Yeah.
Would you rather?
Can I also do? I'm not doing a plug. I sort of am, but can I do a sort of?
It's
an
fine.
interesting plug.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it an electrical plug?
We're doing
I'm a dad joke.
Is it earthed?
Thanks, Dad.
Is it? Benji asked if it was earthed.
Oh, the pair of you are terrible. We are doing a new segment in the Jerry Anderson podcast called
Fab Facts. Yeah.
Would you like a fab fact?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to. I'm going to flick through this book, and you have to say stop.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
It's quite short.
Stop. I forgot how to say stop. I nearly said stop.
Stop the move.
I became John Pertwee.
Well, you've not chosen the page with particularly fab facts, but Henry Ford,
Yes, the card
of
manufacturer.
Ford Motor Car fame, was shown the Thunderbirds Are Go feature film in 1966
Yes.
and was reported to have loved it.
Oh,
There you go.
there you go.
And
Yes.
I'll give you another one, just as a bonus, just for you. How many supercar toys do you think were sold between 1960 and 1962? Specifically the supercar model.
Yeah. I think 20,000.
Is Benji going to guess?
Benji, go on.
Okay, I will go 25,000.
400,000.
Wow.
Bloody
That's
hell,
how
it's
popular
amazing.
Supercar was. Anyway.
Supercar. Thank you
A
very
big traffic
much.
jam, isn't it?
Pleasure.
I'll speak to you anon.
Yes, have a great rest of the podcast. Enjoy the show.
Nearly over. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow. Jamie Anderson. What value for money or no
Certainly.
money? he
Yeah,
is.
value for charity.
So, next week's topic.
Well, this is what should we do? Because we've done 2 police things in a row, so I feel like we have to shake
There's
the
no
format
rules.
up.
Okay, this is your...
But I don't know what to do.
Oh, well done.
So we could do Hornblow. We could do the Beiderbecke affair or whatever it is.
Should we do the first episode of the Beiderbecke affair?
Yeah. What was the first? Is it just called the Beiderbecke
no.
tapes? Or what is it?
The Beiderbecke tapes. The first. What is it? Oh, you have to look it up now.
There's connection, tapes, and affair, isn't there?
I thought the Beiderbecke affair was the first one, but maybe it's connection. The internet should help.
The affair was the Beiderbecke affair was the first one.
I thought so.
Then the tapes, and then the connection.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm well up for that.
What's that?
It's the music from it. I've got the soundtrack CD, that's why.
It was just a sounded a bit. Didn't sound like
double
Big
bass.
Beiderbecke to me. Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's my.
I see.
That was double bass
I
and snare.
see.
You see, yeah.
Oh, I see. Right, we'll do that next time. Yeah, we'll launch straight into it.
Sounds good to me. Right, well, in that case, I suppose it's that time where we delve close to the microphone, like this.
This.
So that
I'm
ends.
an animal, not a human being. Oh no, it's the wrong way around.
So one for our listeners before we go: email in to the podcast, and would you rather? Yeah. Okay. Let me find a good one, because there are some terrible ones. Like, would you rather listen to music from the 70s or music from today? Well, I think we all know the answer to that one. Everybody will listen to The Sweet or Simply Sweet. Okay, would you rather live in Antarctica or the Sahara Desert?
Okay.
Nick just wants to be Lawrence of Arabia. But so email in with your answers to that one. So from me, it's goodbye.
And for me, it's goodbye. Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.